Greetings. Today we're going to cover the process of installing new OLEDs in some Axia consoles, and specifically this is regarding the QOR based consoles. So that would be an IQ, a Radius, a rack, or a desk console. They all have these small OLEDs that are installed at the bottom of each channel that display channel names and such. And to install a new OLED in them, you have to remove this assembly from the console. So for the purposes of this demonstration, we'll assume that you've done this already and you've removed these. So the components that you'll need to do this are these OLEDs that are currently in the console. This part that you see here, the clear plastic piece, will be a piece that will be reused. Everything else that's a part of this assembly will be discarded. So there are a couple of components here. One is the actual OLED PC board that wraps around. It's a little difficult to see, but this black plastic piece here is what we call a backing plate. That backing plate and the OLED will be discarded as part of this process, and a new one will be assembled and installed. So what you see in front of you is the original unit that came out of the console. You have a new backing plate here. Notice there are two sides to this backing plate. There's a side that actually has 4 pins on it that will line up with the pin holes on the new replacement OLED. And then there's the other side of the backing plate, which should have some double-sided stick tape on it and no pins. That's the side that the actual OLED affixes to. And then you actually will have the new OLED display. If you don't have these components, you won't be able to proceed with them. So you will need all 3 of these components in order to continue. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll take the existing OLED and the backing plate out of this carrier housing. And you'll notice that this is all held together, if you look closely, by several clips on either side. Actually, there's 2 clips on either side of this display. And you can tell how they're sort of clipped in there. And you may be tempted to sort of get on the edge of this and press backwards on that pin, but you really don't want to do that, or you'll end up breaking these pins off of the carrier, and then you won't be able to use it. So it may seem a little extreme, but actually the best way to get after this is to just take a small screwdriver, and if you just insert it in the ends, and you can kind of pry up on this display, and you'll see that that corner has now come loose. And then if you do the other corner as well, it should pop out of there, and then you can pull the OLED up and away. So really the important bit here is the part we want to protect is this piece, right? This actual OLED and the backing plate we're going to discard. So if something happens to that in the removal process, it's not a huge deal. Once that's done, that can be discarded, and this unit can now be set aside. So the next thing we need to do is affix the new OLED to this existing backing plate. And to do that, you'll see there is a stop or a plastic tab at the top of this unit. And what we need to do is we need to simply remove the double-sided sticky tape. And then we're going to affix the OLED to this double-sided sticky tape. Now note that there are 2 sides to this OLED. One side is the side that you will see. The other side, the silver side, is actually the back of the OLED, and that's the part that we're going to stick to this backing plate. So once I've removed the double-sided stick tape, then the OLED can just simply be inserted onto that backing plate like so, and just some gentle pressure between your thumb and forefinger will stick that OLED to the backing plate. It's now attached. Now what we need to do is we need to address this PC board and ribbon cable, and that's actually going to just wrap around the back side of this, and this is similar to what the one that came off looks like. And this is where those pins come into place. You'll see that those pins will now line up with the holes on this PC board. So we'll remove the double-sided stick tape from the PC board. And we'll simply fold this unit back, aligning the pins on the PC board with the pins on the backing plate. Again, some gentle pressure between your thumb and forefinger. And now you have a completed OLED assembly. So the next thing we need to do is we need to snap this OLED into this carrier, and it's important to note the orientation of this. So I have them oriented properly. This is how the displays will line up, and you'll note that there is the part where the ribbon cable wraps around the bottom and then comes out what for all intents and purposes we'll call the top of the OLED, and that orients on this display such that there's this rim or this edge down here that's along the bottom. Note that there isn't anything along the top, and so this edge or this wider piece of the clear plastic actually goes on the same side as where the ribbon cable wraps around the back of the backing plate. So to put those together, you're simply going to remove this protective film from the OLED. I suggest you do this last so that you don't get fingerprints on the OLED, because it will show through there. And then once that's removed, we're simply going to take this and snap this again, paying attention to the orientation. We're going to snap this into this backing plate. So just a little gentle pressure, we'll snap those down into those pins, and then on the other side, gentle pressure, and you now have a completed OLED that is ready to go back in to your console. One thing you might do before you put this in is we want to put a little bend in this part of the cable. This black piece here that you see, or the darker colored piece, is the piece that's actually going to fit into the connector on the PC board of the console. It'll help you a little bit if you'll put a gentle bend in this cable before you put it back in. And you'll notice I'm gonna bend it back towards what amounts to the the non-conductive side. These are the conductive side of the pins. This is the non-conductive side of the pins, and what you want to do is you just want to put a gentle bend in this, such that it will slide into the carrier a little easier when you go to reinsert this into your console. And so there's the process of getting those OLEDs. You'll need to do that for all of the OLEDs on the console before you proceed any further. And depending on your console, you could have anywhere between 6, possibly 10 or more of these, depending on which unit you are replacing these on. Any questions, please contact our support department at support@telosalliance.com. Hope you have a great day.